It's 10:48 p.m. Your phone's charging across the room. You're staring at the ceiling, and you can't explain why you feel like you failed at something you haven't even started. You were supposed to be somebody by now. Not famous, not rich, just someone who figured it out. But that's what they told you, right? You're gifted. You're special. You're ahead of the curve. They clapped when you finished early. They smiled when you stayed quiet. They said you'd go far. So why does it feel like you're stuck? You were the smart kid, the one who finished tests before the timer started, who got praised for being mature for your age, who people said would go far. And for a while, it felt true. You learned fast. You didn't need reminders. You were different, and that made you valuable. But now, you procrastinate. You overthink everything. You want to do more, be more, but something invisible holds you in place. Like trying to sprint in a dream where your legs won't move. You don't know what's stopping you. You just know you're stuck. And it's not a lack of effort. It's something deeper. Like your own mind won't let you move forward. You built your identity around being the smart kid. When you're praised for being smart, what people usually mean is you made things look easy. You got it fast. You didn't need help. You didn't fail in public. So you learned something subtle, but dangerous. If I'm struggling, I'm not who they think I am. That belief doesn't disappear, it calcifies, and before long, your intelligence isn't just a trait, it's your proof of worth. So when something's hard, you don't just face a challenge, you face an identity crisis. You avoid anything that makes you feel average. You don't raise your hand unless you're sure. You don't try new things unless you know you'll be good at them. You stopped playing. You started managing. It's not laziness, it's self-protection. You don't start unless you already know how it ends, because if you fail, it's not just a setback. It feels like proof you're not who they said you were. So instead of risking that, you stick to what's safe, what you already know, what you can do with your eyes closed. No risk, no failure, but also no progress. You stay in your lane and shrink. While other people experiment, fail, and adapt, you protect the image. You procrastinate so you'll have an excuse if the result is bad. You say, I didn't really try, to shield your pride. You sabotage your progress just to protect your persona. You built an identity around certainty, so uncertainty started to feel like danger. That's not growth. It's survival mode. You didn't fail. You hid and told yourself the story was procrastination because that hurts less than saying you were afraid. Burnout disguised as laziness. You say you're not lazy, but it's not that. You're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that builds over years. Years of trying to meet expectations, trying to always be capable, trying to hold it all together so no one would worry. Now, even small tasks feel heavy. Not because you don't care, but because you've been carrying too much for too long. You compare yourself to who you were supposed to be. You used to feel like you were becoming someone, progressing, moving forward, leveling up. But lately, you're just keeping it together, holding steady, trying not to slip. And that grief hits hard. Not because you failed, but because you remember what momentum used to feel like. You used to be ahead, finished early, learned fast. People said you'd go far, and for a while, that felt like a guarantee. But now, you're behind on projects, behind on your dreams, behind on some invisible timeline you swore you'd meet. And you can't even say when it changed. You just looked up one day and realized you weren't becoming anymore. You were just getting through it. And the worst part, no one noticed. Not even you. You try to solve feelings with thinking. You approached it like a problem. You made a list, listened to a podcast, even downloaded an app that told you to breathe, wrote out why it didn't make sense to feel this way. You understood it all, but the feeling stayed. Because you can't fix emotions with logic. You can name the pain, but that doesn't mean you felt it. And that's the part no one tells you. Healing isn't about understanding, it's about allowing. And that's the hardest thing for someone who's used to being in control. Emotionally smart, internally numb. You can describe emotions like a scientist. You know the stages, the patterns, the right words. But when someone asks you how you feel, you pause because you don't actually know. You were trained to explain everything, not to feel it. So you become a narrator of your own life instead of someone actually living it. Hypermonitoring in social settings. You don't just talk, you edit in real time, watching faces, tracking tone, measuring reactions as you speak. You're not being fake, you're just always calculating, always scanning. And when it's over, you replay it all, like you're reviewing the test results. No wonder it's exhausting. You didn't show up to connect, you showed up to pass. You missed the practice of being a person. While everyone else was fumbling through awkward friendships, team sports, bad group projects, you were watching from the sidelines. Not because you didn't care, but because you didn't want to be bad at it. And without meaning to, you skipped the reps. The trial and error of social life, the practice of connection, the small talk, the conflict, the awkward. So now it's not just that you feel behind, you miss the part where most people learned how to belong. You're in the room, but not part of it. You're sitting in a group of people you like. They laugh, they connect, they belong. And you? You're watching it all from behind a glass wall. You're not outside it, but you're not really inside either. You follow the conversation, say the right things, but it feels like you're acting. And after a while, even your presence starts to feel borrowed, like you're cosplaying connection instead of experiencing it. So, when the loneliness builds, you don't say, I feel left out. You say, I guess I just don't fit in. Because pretending you're above it hurts less than admitting you've forgotten how to belong. Shame around asking for help. You used to be the one with the answers, the strong one, the helper, the one who always had it under control. So now needing help feels like failing. You don't want to explain it. You don't want to be a burden. You just want someone to understand without making it a big deal. But when you're known for having it together, asking for help feels like breaking character. You tell yourself you're just different. Eventually, the loneliness gets loud, so you quiet it down the only way you know how. I'm just different. I think on another level. I guess I just don't fit in. But those thoughts, they're not confidence. They're cover stories. Because saying, I'm above it, hurts less than saying, I feel left out. You weren't arrogant. You were hurting and hiding. How you fix it. You don't need to stop being smart. You need to stop depending on it to feel safe. Because as long as ease defines your worth, you'll avoid anything that requires effort. And that means avoiding most of real life. So start here. Try something new. Ask a dumb question. Let someone see you without the answers. Show up. Get it wrong. Stay anyway. That's what real growth looks like. Because healing isn't about being impressive. It's about being real. You confused being needed with being loved. You learned to impress, to explain things, to fix things, to be useful. And somewhere along the way, you started confusing being loved with being needed. So now you show up with insights instead of feelings, support instead of presence, value instead of vulnerability. Because deep down, you're not sure people would stay if you didn't bring something useful. Quiet fear of disappointment. You feel like you've let someone down, even if they never said it, even if they don't expect anything from you anymore. It lingers, the pressure to become what everyone once believed you would be. And maybe the hardest part isn't falling short. It's wondering if they'd still be proud of who you are right now. If any of this felt familiar, drop a comment, even just a me, or share the part that hits the hardest, because your words might help someone else feel seen. You're not alone, and sometimes just saying it out loud is where everything starts to shift. You were supposed to be somebody by now. Maybe you always were.